Deep in the hills of Rajasthan, India, stands a place where even the government warns you not to go after dark. Bhangarh Fort was built way back in the 1500s by a powerful ruler named Raja Bhagwant Das. He made it as a home for his son, Madho Singh. Back then, this wasn't just a fort, it was a whole city. Picture busy streets filled with people, markets where merchants sold their goods, beautiful temples where families prayed, and grand palaces with 7 stories reaching toward the sky. For over 100 years, thousands of people called this place home. But something terrible happened in 1630. Madho Singh's son was killed in battle, and after that, everything started falling apart. By 1783, a horrible famine struck the land. One by one, every single person left Bhangarh behind. The markets grew silent. The temples emptied. The palace halls echoed with nothing but wind. What was once a thriving city became nothing more than empty stone buildings, slowly crumbling under the hot desert sun. And that's when the stories began. You see, the people didn't just leave because of hunger or war. They left because of something much darker. 2 curses hang over the area, like dark clouds that never go away. The first curse came from a holy man, a sage who lived right where the fort was built. This wise old man had agreed to let the king build there, but only on one condition. He said, "My house must always stay in the sunlight. If any building you make casts a shadow over my home, this whole place will be destroyed." The king promised, but years later, his greedy descendants wanted to make the palace even bigger and more impressive. They added tall columns and extra floors, reaching higher and higher into the sky. And sure enough, those new additions cast a long, dark shadow right over the sage's little house. The moment that shadow touched his home, the holy man's eyes blazed with anger. He raised his hands to the heavens and spoke words that would doom Bhangarh forever. "You have broken your promise," he said. "Now this place will become a home for the dead, not the living." But there's another curse, and this one is even more chilling. It's about a beautiful princess named Ratnavati, who was said to be the most gorgeous woman in all of India. Young men would travel from distant kingdoms just to catch a glimpse of her. But there was one man who wanted her more than anything else in the world, a dark magician who practiced black magic. Night after night, he would watch her from the shadows, his heart burning with desire. He knew she would never love someone like him, so he decided to use his evil powers to make her fall under his spell. The story tells us that one day, the princess went to the marketplace to buy perfumes and cosmetics. The magician followed her through the crowded streets, staying hidden behind stalls and curtains. When she picked up a bottle of perfume, he quickly cast a spell on it. This wasn't just any love potion. It was dark magic that would make her his slave forever. He watched with wicked excitement as she lifted the bottle to smell it. But Princess Ratnavati was smarter than he thought. Something felt wrong about the perfume. Maybe it was too warm, or maybe she sensed the evil magic swirling inside. Instead of using it, she threw the bottle as hard as she could. The bottle smashed against a huge boulder, and immediately, something incredible happened. The rock began to move. It rolled faster and faster, growing bigger as it tumbled down the hill, heading straight for the magician. He tried to run, but the massive stone caught up with him and crushed him to death. As he lay dying, blood pouring from his wounds, the magician used his last breath to speak a curse so powerful that it would echo through time itself. "If I cannot have this place in life," he gasped, "then no living soul will ever find peace here. This city will become a home for ghosts and demons. Anyone who tries to live here will die, and their spirits will be trapped forever." And you know what? Both curses came true. The Indian government has put up official signs at every entrance to the fort. These are real laws. The signs say that nobody is allowed to enter between sunset and sunrise. That in itself tells us a lot, because this is the only place in India where the government officially warns people about ghosts. The Archaeological Survey of India, which takes care of old buildings and monuments, even built their office far away from the fort instead of inside it like they do everywhere else. They were too scared to work there. Local people who live near the ruins have their own stories to tell. They call the fort Poot Bangla, which means ghost house. Ask anyone from the nearby villages, and they'll tell you about the strange things they've seen and heard. When the sun goes down and darkness covers the ruins, that's when the place truly comes alive. But not with the living. People have reported hearing voices, not just one or two, but whole crowds of people talking, laughing, and even crying inside the empty buildings. Sometimes it sounds like a busy marketplace from hundreds of years ago, with merchants calling out prices and customers bargaining for goods. Other times, it's the sound of a royal celebration, with music and dancing echoing through the palace halls. But when brave souls have crept close enough to look, what they find is nothing but empty rooms and broken stones. One of the most terrifying sights people report is a woman in a black sari. She appears most often near the palace ruins, walking slowly through the corridors where Princess Ratnavati once lived. Witnesses say she moves like she's floating rather than walking, and her face, well, those who've seen it up close say her eyes are just empty, dark holes. Some believe this is the spirit of a servant who died trying to protect the princess from the magician's curse. Some think it might be the princess herself, forever trapped in the place where she was supposed to live happily ever after. But she's not the only ghost haunting here. Shadow figures dart between the broken walls, appearing for just a second before vanishing into thin air. Visitors have described seeing full groups of people, men, women, and children, walking through the ruins as if they're still living their daily lives from centuries ago. These ghostly families shop in markets that no longer exist, pray in temples with no roofs, and sleep in bedrooms with no walls. The temperature is another thing that makes people's skin crawl. Even on the hottest days, when the desert sun is beating down mercilessly, certain spots are ice cold. People have reported sudden drops in temperature that make their breath visible, even when it's over 100 degrees outside. And there's this feeling. Everyone talks about this awful feeling, like someone is watching you from every broken window and crumbling doorway. Physical encounters are the worst. People have felt invisible hands grabbing their clothes, pushing them downstairs, or even trying to drag them into dark corners of the ruins. Doors that haven't had hinges for hundreds of years suddenly slam shut. Windows that are just empty holes in walls somehow bang open and closed by themselves. Objects that visitors set down disappear and then reappear in completely different places. There are stories about people who didn't listen to the warnings. A group of college students once decided to prove that the ghost stories were just nonsense. They snuck into the fort after midnight, carrying flashlights and cameras, planning to spend the whole night there. Only 2 of the 5 students came back. The other 3 were found the next morning, but something was very wrong with them. They couldn't speak. They just stared straight ahead with empty eyes, like their minds had been completely erased. Even now, years later, those 3 young men still haven't recovered. They live in a mental hospital, and doctors say there's nothing physically wrong with them. It's as if their souls were just taken. Local guides have their own rules. They never go near the fort after 3 in the afternoon because they say that's when the spirits start to wake up. One guide tells a story about how a small boy once approached him inside the fort, trying to sell flowers. The guide didn't buy any because he never offers flowers at the temples, but when he got home that evening, he found fresh flowers in his bag. Flowers he never bought from a boy who shouldn't have been there. Some reports come from people who claim to hear the magician himself. On certain nights, especially during a full moon, visitors say they can hear a man's voice calling out Princess Ratnavati's name. The voice starts soft, almost like a whisper, but it gets louder and more desperate as the night goes on. By midnight, it becomes a scream of rage and longing that echoes off every wall in the fort. Local people believe that the magician's spirit is still searching for the princess, still trying to claim her even in death. And what about Princess Ratnavati? Some say her spirit roams the palace, trying to protect visitors from the magician's ghost. They claim she appears as a beautiful woman in white, warning people to leave before sunrise. But others believe she's become something darker. They say the curse twisted her spirit, and now she lures people deeper into the fort, where they become lost forever in its maze of broken rooms and crumbling staircases. The terrifying thing about Bhangarh might be what happens to people who stay too long, even during the day. Visitors report feeling more and more tired the longer they remain inside the ruins. Some have to fight the urge to lie down and take a nap, even though they're surrounded by broken stones and thorny bushes. Those who give in to this strange sleepiness often have nightmares about being buried alive or trapped forever in underground chambers that don't actually exist in the real fort. Even animals avoid the fort. Birds refuse to build nests in the trees around the fort. Dogs and cats that live in nearby villages will not go near the entrance, no matter how much food you offer them. Wild animals from the forest might pass through during the day, but they never stay. It's as if every living creature can sense that this place belongs to the dead. Today, Bhangarh Fort stands as perhaps the only place on Earth where ghost stories have become government policy. The Archaeological Survey of India doesn't just suggest that people avoid the fort at night. They legally prohibit it. Break this law, and you could face serious consequences. Think about that. In a world where science explains almost everything, here's a place where the government officially recognizes that something supernatural and dangerous lives in these ancient stones. So the next time someone tells you that ghosts aren't real, remind them about this place. Remind them about a place where two curses from centuries ago still hold power today, where the Indian government posts warning signs about spirits and demons, where thousands of people have seen, heard, and felt things that science cannot explain. Because somewhere in those crumbling ruins, in the shadows between broken walls and beneath collapsed roofs, the spirits of Bhangarh are still waiting. They're waiting for someone foolish enough to ignore the warnings, someone brave enough to test the curses, someone who thinks they can spend just one night in the most haunted place on Earth. The question is, would that someone be you? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want more, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. It only takes a second to do and is free, but greatly helps the channel. Good night.